A woman sits alone in a cafe, phone glowing in her hand, reading her horoscope for the third time that day. She doesn't believe in astrology, she tells herself this every morning. Yet there she is, nodding slowly, whispering under her breath that yes, Mercury must actually be in retrograde because her week has been absolute chaos. Across the table, a man laughs at her. He's a skeptic. He says, rational, grounded in science. But just last night, he told his date he was a Scorpio with a knowing smile, as if that single word explained the entirety of his personality. This is the strange contradiction we all live inside. We claim astrology is nonsense, that stars billions of miles away couldn't possibly dictate whether we'll have a good day or fall in love or get promoted. And yet, when someone asks our sign, we answer. When we read a description that feels accurate, we pause. When a horoscope warns us to be cautious, we remember it when something goes wrong. Why does this happen? Why do even the most logical, science-loving people find themselves drawn into the orbit of zodiac signs, tarot cards, and cosmic predictions? The answer isn't actually written in the stars. It's written in the architecture of the human mind itself, in a psychological trick so subtle and so powerful that we fall for it even when we know exactly how it works. The phenomenon has a name, and it was discovered not by mystics or astrologers, but by a psychologist named Barnum in 1948. He gave his students a personality test, then handed each of them a personalized analysis of their character. The students were amazed. They rated the accuracy of their results at an average of 4.2 out of 5. They felt seen, understood, known, but here's the twist. Every single student received the exact same description. 4 had pulled generic statements from newspaper horoscopes and stitched them together into a paragraph that sounded deeply personal, but was actually universal. Phrases like "you have a great need for other people to like and admire you," and "you have a tendency to be critical of yourself, and while you have some personality weaknesses, you are generally able to compensate for them." These statements feel intimate because they describe experiences nearly everyone has. We all want to be liked. We all criticize ourselves. We all feel like we're hiding something, but when we read them in the context of a personalized reading, whether it's a horoscope, a personality test, or a fortune teller's prediction, our brain does something fascinating. It accepts the statement as proof of insight. It stops questioning, it starts confirming. This is called the Barnum effect, named after the famous showman P.T. Barnum, who once said there's a sucker born every minute. But calling people suckers misses the point entirely. This isn't about intelligence. It's about how our minds are wired to seek meaning, connection, and identity. When you read that Virgos are perfectionists, your brain doesn't search for all the times you were messy or careless. It hunts for evidence that supports the claim: that time you rewrote an email 5 times. That moment you couldn't leave the house because your outfit didn't feel right. Suddenly, those memories light up, and you think, see, it's true. The sign was right. You forget all the contradictions. You forget the days you didn't care at all. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, and it's one of the most powerful forces shaping how we see the world. We don't remember what doesn't fit. We remember what confirms the story we've already started to believe. But there's another layer to this, something even deeper than Barnum's statements and confirmation bias. Astrology offers something that modern life often strips away. It offers identity in a world that feels random and chaotic. Think about it. We live in an age of infinite choice, endless information, constant change. We're told we can be anything, do anything, become anyone. That freedom is exhilarating, but it's also exhausting. It leaves us floating, unmoored, desperate for something that explains who we are without requiring years of therapy or self-reflection. Enter the Zodiac. In 12 simple symbols, astrology gives you a framework. It tells you that you're not just a random collection of traits and traumas. You're a Leo, you're a Capricorn, you're a Pisces. And that label comes preloaded with meaning, with history, with a narrative that's thousands of years old. Suddenly, you're not just you, you're part of a cosmic pattern, a story bigger than yourself. You have strengths that were written into your birth chart. You have challenges that the stars predicted. You're not lost, you're located. This need for narrative is hardwired into us. Humans are storytelling creatures. We don't experience life as a series of disconnected moments. We experience it as a plot, with characters and conflicts and meaning. And astrology is one of the oldest, most elegant storytelling systems ever created. It takes the randomness of existence and turns it into poetry. It takes your birthday, a fact you had no control over, and transforms it into destiny. The ancient astrologers understood this. They weren't con artists. They were psychologists before psychology had a name. They knew that people needed to feel like their lives meant something, that their suffering had purpose, that their personality wasn't arbitrary. So they looked up at the sky, at the one thing every human being shares, the stars, and they built a system that connected the heavens to the human heart. But here's where it gets even stranger. Modern science has actually found that astrology does have an effect, just not the one astrologers claim. Studies have shown that people born in certain months tend to have slightly different personality traits, not because of cosmic energy, but because of environmental factors. Babies born in winter are exposed to different levels of sunlight, different viruses, different seasonal rhythms than babies born in summer. These tiny differences during critical periods of brain development can lead to measurable variations in temperament and behavior. It's not magic, it's biology, but it means that astrology stumbled onto a real pattern, even if the explanation was wrong. The ancients noticed that people born at certain times of year seemed to share qualities, and they were right. They just attributed it to the stars instead of vitamin D levels and flu season. Then there's the social element, the part of astrology that has nothing to do with belief and everything to do with belonging. When you talk about your sign, you're not just sharing a personality trait. You're participating in a shared language, a cultural ritual that connects you to millions of other people. Astrology is a social glue. It's a way to start conversations, to bond with strangers, to explain yourself without exposing too much. Saying I'm such a Gemini is easier than saying I have complex feelings about intimacy and a tendency to intellectualize my emotions. It's a shorthand, a code, a way to be vulnerable without actually being vulnerable. And in a world where genuine connection feels harder and harder to find, that shorthand becomes precious. It becomes a tool for building community in a fragmented age. There's also something rebellious about astrology, especially now. We live in a culture dominated by data, algorithms, and scientific rationalism. We're told that everything can be measured, optimized, predicted by machines. Our phones know us better than we know ourselves. Our browsing history is analyzed, our behavior is tracked. In this environment, astrology becomes a form of resistance. It's a way of saying that not everything meaningful can be quantified, that mystery still matters, that there are truths the spreadsheets can't capture. It's irrational, yes, but that's exactly the point. It's a refusal to be entirely rational, entirely knowable, entirely reduced to data points. It's a way of reclaiming magic in a world that's trying very hard to eliminate it. So when someone says they don't believe in astrology but still checks their horoscope, they're not being hypocritical, they're being human. They're navigating the tension between skepticism and the need for meaning, between science and story, between what they know intellectually and what they feel emotionally. And maybe that's okay. Maybe the question isn't whether astrology is true or false. Maybe the question is what it does for us, what need it fulfills, what gap it fills in the landscape of modern existence. Because at the end of the day, we all believe in something we can't prove. We all have narratives we use to make sense of chaos. For some people, it's religion. For others, it's political ideology, or psychology, or the invisible hand of the market. For millions of others, it's the Zodiac. And the reason astrology endures, the reason it thrives in an age of science, is because it offers something science often forgets to provide: a sense of meaning that feels personal, a story that includes you, a way to look at the randomness of existence and see not just atoms and accidents, but patterns and purpose and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of magic that the stars saw coming all along.